While I was playing Tears of the Kingdom casually for the first time, I had this constant thought in the back of my mind about whether I could beat the game by never touching the ground, or if you could beat the game by only staying in the sky. I looked into it, and from what I can tell, there's no way to actually beat the game just by spending your entire time in the sky. You have to go to the depths eventually, and it would also be extremely tedious to navigate the sky only because you'd have to consume a lot of large zonite charges to keep flying around. So for this challenge, I opted to allow myself to go to the sky and the depths, but never touch the surface, which is pretty interesting, actually. It was a really fun run. The start of it's very similar to the vanilla game, though, so we're just going to do all the shrines in order to get our abilities. It's not too complicated. So official rules for this challenge that I made were no glitches. I figured it wouldn't be in the spirit of the challenge that I'm trying to do if I could just duplicate a million items and, I don't know, fly to the end. The second rule is I cannot touch the surface under any circumstances, but I can touch the sky islands as well as the depths. One thing I have to get out of the way at the start here is apologize for some of the footage that is in this. It gets a little blurry sometimes. I was having issues with my capture card settings and OBS in general, just figuring out what kind of settings work, but by the end of the challenge it gets better, so just wait and the quality of the clips will improve. It'll stop being so blurry. I had a couple goals for this challenge in order to make it possible and easier, so one of them is going to be to get the Master Sword, for reasons I'll explain later. The other one is going to be to get the Zonite armor. That armor is really important for this. It makes our battery usage more efficient, so we can actually get around with less batteries, which is super important if you're going to do a playthrough where you can only touch the sky in the depths, and you have no paraglider, because we never go to the surface, so we never get the paraglider. You definitely don't realize it when you're playing the game normally, but not having the paraglider makes it a really different experience. It's a lot tougher to navigate Sky Island. Well, just anything, it's a lot harder to navigate when you don't have the paraglider. So if you did a no paraglider run or have done one, props, it's not easy. It's pretty hard. So now we just have to get the Master Sword to the end of the Temple of Time so we can get on with the Great Sky Island, get out of here. This is actually going to become a bit of a home base for me during this challenge. It's the only place I have a fast travel point to, as well as the only place I can actually get food at the start of the game, because the depths doesn't have any food and I can't go anywhere else, so this is going to be the only source of food I have, which honestly it's okay. The Great Sky Island has a lot of resources on it, which is super fortunate for a challenge like this. So the game tells me to go to the Kingdom of Hyrule, but I'm going to say screw that. First I'm going to go fight this Flux Construct. I want his weapon part, because it'll help me when I'm in the depths to fight something else. So these guys, they're pretty cool to fight, I think. I like the interactions they have with your abilities. I think you use almost every ability you have when you fight them. You can use Recall when they throw blocks at you, Ultra Hand obviously to rip their core out like I did just there, and when they make the little platform you can ascend through them, so I really like fighting Flux Constructs. They're pretty fun. Here you can see I'm just abusing Ultra Hand on this poor guy. I don't think he hits me at all. It's really not fair. You can just pull the core out of him and beat him to death. So there's the Flux Construct dead, and I killed him because I wanted his fuse part, which will help when we go to the depths, which we're going to do right now. This is right behind the Ascend Shrine, or no, sorry, the Fuse Shrine. This is right behind the Fuse Shrine. You can jump off right here at this angle, and there's actually a chasm right below it that goes, I believe it's right next to the Great Plateau, which is fortunate because we want to go to the abandoned central mine that's down there. First I have to survive this fall. The reason I'm slow falling into this pit instead of diving is because I want to give myself extra time to react to what I'm going to try to grab onto, which is a little ledge that appears. You can't see it normally, but I'm going to do a trick here where I drop a bright bloom seed from my inventory to light up the area where I'm going to try to land. We're going to see if it works. And here I go to grab onto the ledge. What you do here is you actually hit B. Unfortunately, I mess it up and die the first time. But the way you do it is if there's a vertical flat surface while you're falling, while you're in dive mode actually, you can hit B and then Link will go into a normal falling stance. I don't know what else to call it, but in that stance he can actually grab the wall. When he's in this dive animation here, he can't. So you have to hit B to grab onto flat surfaces. So I changed my strategy a little bit here, and instead of trying to grab that chasm wall, I opt to grab this statue. And extremely luckily, I get it on my second try, which is, trust me, not the norm for when I try to do something like that. Which, I mean, you'll see later. So the reason I got the Flux Construct Pounder is because I want to kill a Frox as soon as I come down here. The bosses in the depths give you crystallized charges, which you use to buy batteries, and so that's another reason why it's important that we can come to the depths, because we need batteries to fuel our exploration of the sky, and to get batteries we need to come to the depths. It doesn't take me very long to kill this Frox. They're not much of a challenge once you know how to fight them. They are just big. They're kind of like a Dodongo actually from Ocarina, the way they suck in bombs and you can just blow them up and then kill them. So after dealing with this guy, which is pretty easy, we're gonna head to the Great Abandoned Central Mine to get auto build. The reason I want auto build is so that I can recreate things like a hover bike, or basically that's the most important one for navigating the sky. But it also has a few other uses that we're going to need it for much later in the playthrough. Unfortunately, before we can get auto build, we have to deal with this this goober named Master Koga who likes to get in the way. I really like what they did with him in this game, though, making him... He's more fun as a villain, and I enjoy his boss fights a lot, so for this first one, he's going to try to run me over with a monster truck. I like that you can use recall on this orb, kind of like how you could use magnesis on him in Breath of the Wild to deal damage. It's a nice little callback to the first game. This whole him being in the depths thing is so fun as a way to connect the two games together. Boss fight with Koga goes pretty much the same way for a while until you get to phase 2 when he pulls out the rockets and tries to run over you with his rocket car. I love the design they do with these vehicles that he drives. It's so funny. Unfortunately, his rocket car is not going to be enough because I'm just built different, I guess. I don't know. He's not that hard. You just have to jump on the back of his truck and stab him in the back. So that's how I end up beating him. After I send Koga packing, it's time to do what I ended up doing a lot of in this playthrough, which was mining Zonaite. Super duper fun. It wasn't that bad. Along with mining Zonaite, I was also killing monsters that I found, like Hinoxes or Stone Taluses. So here's a Hinox that I murdered. I threw bombs at him to start off, and these guys are pretty much the same from Breath of the Wild, so there's not really anything cool to show when fighting them now. They do the same thing that they did, which I think is a little sad. I wish they gave some of the older enemies newer moves, but we did get a lot of newer enemies on top of it, so it's alright. After killing that Hinox and Koga, I was feeling a little confident, so I found a Lynel, and for whatever reason I decided it would be a good idea to fight this guy with my limited weapons that I had at the time. Yeah, you can see it starts off not going well. I immediately break a stone hammer without even... I didn't even do half of his armor health damage, but I was feeling stubborn, so I kept fighting him, and yeah, it didn't go super well. I'm pretty confident when fighting Lynels because I did it a lot in Breath of the Wild, so it's not like I don't think I could have killed this guy. It was just more the cost that it took. I used up a lot of weapons, and yeah, it really wasn't worth it to go after a Lynel at this point, so I was just being dumb by doing it. Oh, I get humbled for my hubris. I get utterly annihilated. Miss my parry and die. So do you think I learned my lesson? No. I go back to try to fight him again. But I don't know if this is a thing they do now, where if they kill you once, if you don't draw your weapon, they just leave you alone, or if he was bugging out or something. But he didn't kill me, so I ran away. And then, you know what? I came back, because I am not smart. Or I was stubborn, I don't know. I guess they're the same thing sometimes. So, I tried to fight him again. This time I actually managed to break his armor, which is progress compared to the first time. The biggest problem I'm going to have fighting this guy is the lack of stamina, which you're going to see. Yeah, stamina is important when you're fighting Lynels for a lot of reasons, so having 1 bar made it pretty rough. You can see my flurry rushes are doing barely any damage. I'm not hurting this man at all. He does not care about anything that I'm doing. I was talking about stamina earlier, and you're gonna see why it's so important. Because if you run out, you die. I might have been able to block that with my shield. I think I made a mistake by trying to run with 0 stamina instead of just blocking. My shield might have blocked it, but yeah. To repair my now shattered ego, I went and killed a Frox, because what's more cathartic than bullying native wildlife into submission and taking all their jewels after you kill them? Not feeling better yet, I decided to go kill a Battle Talus as well. This is a new enemy, kind of, in Tears of the Kingdom. They are basically just a Talus that has enemies on top of them, and I feel like they could have done more with these guys, but they're still pretty cool. It's just that I don't know, they could have done something else with them that was more interesting than just having guys on top of a Talus, because once you kill the guys, it's just a regular Talus fight for the most part. After a successful adventure in the depths, I decided to head back to the Great Sky Island to spend some of my riches and get some more batteries so that I could explore some Sky Islands. There's actually a cluster of islands near the Great Sky Island you can get to without having to use any kind of machinery. You can just use a wing to get there. So that's what I did. I went to that little section. It's just to the west, and you can jump into this one island because it has a pool of water. You can actually jump into it safely. You don't have to do any tricky landings, which is really nice. I believe there's also ferries on that island that I picked up there, which are going to matter because if I mess up my grabbing the wall technique when I fall into a pit, I'm going to need ferries to survive it. So I spent the next bit just exploring the Sky Islands, trying to maybe get a shrine done, just get my bearings on the whole getting around the sky with no paraglider. On this island with the door puzzles to lower the water level, I ended up finding some fairies. Unfortunately, I scared one away, which was very disappointing actually, because I really needed them. Actually, yeah, they're very important. So you can see me sadly watching it fly away. Other than that, I'm just exploring, trying to get around with the materials that I can find while I'm on the islands. So these wings and fans, basically anything that I can find on an island to get to another island, I do that to further my exploration. After running around the sky a bit, I realized there's really not much point because I can only go so far without more battery power and more machines. So back to the depths I go, back to the mining zonite, the most fun thing in the world. Yeah, on top of mining zonite, I'm also just killing any bosses I find, like stone taluses or hinoxes. No Lynels, because we saw how that went, but basically any of the other bosses I can take down and get their crystal charges from. Another really nice thing about being able to be in the depths is that I can find... There's a lot of materials down here, like bomb flowers, muddle buds, puff shrooms. All that stuff's really awesome to find and is going to come in handy when I attack enemy camps to mine zonite from. As well as just in general having materials like that. They're really powerful and really helpful. One of the biggest reasons I went to the Great Abandoned Central Mine was also to get the ability to buy large crystallized zonite charges directly. It wasn't just for auto build, I also wanted the ability to buy these charges so I wouldn't have to only farm bosses. One thing I hadn't mentioned is, at this point in the video, I've probably been playing the game for around close to 6 hours, and there has not been a blood moon yet. And that's not normal. Normally a blood moon would have happened by now. So none of the bosses I'm killing have respawned, which is concerning because they're the easiest way to get crystallized charges, but if they don't respawn, I can't get more from them. And if I can't get more from them, then I'm going to have to only buy it from here. So I was getting really worried at this point that the only way I was going to be able to get these charges was to buy them. With those worries set aside, I decided I would try to get into a Yiga base because they give you schematics for auto build, but also each one has, I believe it's 100? I could be wrong. It has crystallized charges inside a chest, and also fighting the Yiga clan and breaking into their bases is the only way I can get mighty bananas, and those are really important for boss fights and dealing with Lynels because you get an attack bonus from cooking with them. So this is my only way to get them. So my spring contraption actually works, but it works a little too well, and I almost die, but you know, I don't. I live with a quarter heart, which is really lucky. Now that I have 2 full batteries, I figured I could make a vehicle to fly around the depths with just to make exploring easier. So I tried out a design I saw on YouTube by, I think his name is Crispy on YouTube, for a vehicle called the Fraudster. And you just attach a steering stick, a fan, and a spear with a Korok leaf on the end of it, and that makes the vehicle. I think I built mine wrong because it flew a little wonky. But that might also just be how having a one-fan vehicle works. So, I flew it around for a while to varying success before I had to scale a really high cliff, which involved making a balloon that I found with some torches. Unfortunately, I placed the balloon too far away from the edge of the cliff, and by the time I noticed, I was too high to jump down, so I was committed, and I ended up just having to try a vertical landing with the dive, which went really well. Just kidding, that's a wasted fairy, which sucks, but at least I didn't fall down the entire cliff and waste multiple fairies. Now I just have to climb it the normal way for the most part, but it wasn't too bad. I almost ran out of stamina, but I barely make it. And the reason I'm going this way is to get a rematch with Koga, so that I can get more crystal charges from him, but also to unlock them from the Gerudo Abandoned Mine. Rematching Koga here is very different from the first fight. Instead of trying to run me over with a monster truck, he's opted to fly around in an airplane. Without the paraglider, normally the way I would do this fight is launch myself in the air with a spring and just use bullet time and a paraglider to survive. So I try that here, but then I realize that the fall is way too high, and I take a lot of damage knocking him off his airplane. It gets real spooky when Koga has his second plane, because that one has a cannon. So I try to recall the cannon shots to not die, but I underestimate how fast he can shoot the stupid thing and almost get one shot. So now I'm really scared and panicking because he's going to shoot again, and I have nowhere to hide from him. So I'm super lucky to dodge a bullet right there. And then I see this floating Zonai platform and have a bit of an evil idea, so I activate it, place it above, and use Ascend. And this lets me get bullet time safely so that I can shoot Koga, and I'm not too high in the air that I'll take fall damage. It's pretty funny that Koga puts these shields up around himself on the wing, but if you're high enough, you can just shoot over them anyways. So they don't end up doing that much other than, I don't know, looking pretty. I had another idea where I really wanted to see if I could ascend through Koga's wing to attack him from inside, but I don't think you can. There's too many items on top of it that get in the way. So I just have to shoot him in the face again and then go beat him to death with my Frox club. After clubbing Master Koga again, I'm going to grab the crystallized charges I came here for, and then move on. Unfortunately, that's the last time we're going to see Master Koga in this playthrough, which is pretty sad, but there's really no reason to fight him again, because the next place he is in Lanayru, and navigating there from the depths is just a lot of work. So I opt to upgrade my batteries again instead. Now I got a little ambitious and figured with 3 batteries I could take the Franster to another set of islands that are nearby to the east instead of the west. I figured with Zonite charges and enough time I could get over there, and you can see I made sure to save first because I was worried about it. Right here I start running low on batteries, so I decided to use a Zonite charge to extend the battery life so I could keep going. But then I had another idea with my last Zonite charge. I noticed the Forge Island is close by, and on the Forge Island there's a set, or a piece of the Zonite armor that I need to make my batteries more efficient. So I made a silly decision and decided to fly there instead. This ended up being a risky maneuver. I had to use a regular Zonite charge just to get to the Forge Island and then proceed all the way to the top. I sure hope I haven't forgotten anything super critical and important about this island that won't come back to bite me later. Well, 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 looks like I fell for the classic trap of not remembering that there's a switch at the bottom of the island that you have to hit before you can go to the top to get inside of it. So now I have to climb down the whole thing, and without dying. So I just try to dive off the end because I have 0 patience and figure I'm good enough that I can land a vertical dive, which, as we can see, I cannot do that consistently at all. So instead, like a peasant, I have to actually climb down this entire thing, which took a while actually, but you know what, it was actually pretty fun figuring out the mental challenge of how to climb down this thing without injuring myself further, because I'm pretty sure that ferry I used was my last one. Eventually I get to the bottom and activate the switch, so now there's the challenge of having to re-climb up the entire thing. I probably could have just used the Franster and a bunch of Zonite charges to get up, but I didn't want to waste all my Zonite charges, so I ended up trying to climb most of it. There was quite a few times while climbing it that I ended up getting stuck, and I had to come up with some weird solutions like using a wing and recall so that I could cross a really large gap. I also used Ascend in a weird way at one point to cheese my way up some of it. I did get tired of climbing and opted to just build a Franster and fly it up the rest of the way at some point, just because it was so tedious, and the higher you got, the harder time I was having finding ways that I could get up just by climbing. So I eventually did just build the Franster and fly my way back up. And now that, wouldn't you know it, the switch is activated, I can actually jump into the island and do the shrine that's here, and also get my armor piece. Getting this first piece of Zonite armor is really good. It increases battery efficiency, like I've said before, but also it has a higher defense rating than other armor does just by default, which is pretty handy, actually. It saves my life a couple times. So I went and did a lot of farming off camera, just getting Zonite to upgrade batteries, and I figured you didn't need to see it. You've already seen what I do in the depths to get more battery power, so now I've upgraded to a hover bike design with my flying vehicle. I've got 5 whole batteries, and I'm just doing shrines, trying to upgrade my stamina and get more pieces of the Zonite armor. Which is why we're heading towards this island here, which I think is one of the cooler islands in the game that has a really unique puzzle to it. It does a lot of stuff with light, and it's just really cool, and it's another place where you get Zonite armor. After solving the puzzle on this island, it's time for me to grab the second piece of Zonite armor that I'll need, which I believe is the helmet. I should mention now that another armor set I'm itching to get is the glider set that you can get from the Sky Islands here, and the reason I want that is because it's going to make diving into Hyrule Castle depths a lot easier, a lot more controllable, and it also comes in handy for some reasons that I didn't foresee later in the run. The way you get it's pretty easy. You just have to do these glide challenges that the first time you do them, they can be tricky because you can't move around as well without the glide armor, but they're really not that bad once you know what you're doing, and you can pretty easily do them in the amount of time that you need to get the armor. While I was exploring the Sky Islands looking for shrines, something really interesting happened when I reached the, I think it's called Wellspring Island. When I touched the ground, a blood moon instantly happened. I'll mention that up until this point, a blood moon hadn't actually occurred in this file, and we're like, I think 15 hours in at this point, which I guess in hindsight that's really weird. I didn't really notice it while I was playing. It must have to do with not touching the ground, I guess. I don't really know what the cause of that is, but this was the first blood moon of the playthrough, which is super weird. Weird blood moons aside, I decided to go back and get revenge on this Lynel that killed me earlier when I was like first in the depths, because I've got more stamina now, so I figure I could beat him. Except I immediately take all my hearts of damage, but live. But after that it goes pretty well. I mean, at this point I'm kind of a Lynel killing expert. I've played enough of this game. It's just that easy, folks. I mean, imagine dying to one of those guys, right? Who would do that? That would be really embarrassing and stupid. Anyway, after killing that Lynel, I'm going to the Valor Island, which has another piece of glide armor that I'm going to need. While I'm flying around up here, can we all agree that this game is really cool? I mean, I really like being able to fly around in the sky. It's so awesome. And there's actually, that's the Light Dragon. I think that was the first time I'd seen it, and I definitely need it because my plan with this playthrough was to get the Master Sword. Yeah, I guess that's not really a spoiler. I mean, you clicked on the video, right? You knew I was going to beat the game. So, yeah, Valor Island's next. It's the same as the other glide trials, honestly. I like that they added the clouds to this one to make it a little more hard, but I mean, we have 2 pieces of the glide suit already, so it goes pretty smoothly. Now that I've got all the pieces of the glide suit, that's one of my major goals for this playthrough done, so I'm just looking around at this point for shrines in the sky to get enough stamina so that I can pull the Master Sword. I also gotta say that without a paraglider, navigating the sky is way different. Like, you have to think a lot more about what devices you have on hand, and if you're really high up, you have to think hard about how you're going to get down to a lower part, like a lower sky island. So it makes you think a lot more about what is in your toolkit, what you're going to use to move around, which is a lot of fun. Here I'm handing in my last couple spirit orbs, get that full stamina wheel. You only need 2 to get the Master Sword, 2 full stamina wheels, so now that I've got that, that's where we're going next. I'm actually curious how everybody found the Master Sword, because for me, in my first playthrough when I found it, it was because I was wearing the Champion's leathers, and one of the upgrade materials is Light Dragon parts. So I saw the Light Dragon, flew up, noticed this glowing thing on its head, and ended up finding the Master Sword by accident. But I know some of my other friends, they found it by like going to Kokiri Forest first and helping the Deku Tree, and one of them actually didn't find it until they got all the memories, or the Dragon Tears, whatever they're called in this game. So it's just super cool that everybody can find it differently. I mean, I don't care how many Zelda games you've played, or whatever, whichever one's your favorite. This game has the best sword pull, right? Like, you're on top of a dragon in heaven, and that's where you get the Master Sword. You pull it out of its head. Like, come on. So I've got the Master Sword. By all rights, I could probably take on the final boss now, but I decided that I wanted to do something else first. Just to assert my dominance, you know, prove that I'm the best. Not really. I went to the Colosseum Underground where there's all the Lynels. And the reason I did this is because I actually need the Lynel parts. They're going to help out in the boss rush. So there is a reason I'm doing this. I'm not just trying to flex. Although, you know, maybe a small part of me is wanting to redeem myself for losing to that one Lynel earlier after I talked up a big game about being really good at fighting them. So maybe there is a small ego reason for fighting these guys. So there's the first Lynel dead. He's just a red one. They have such little health, honestly, it's really easy to kill them. They also don't have a lot of the attacks that the scarier Lynels get. So now we've got a blue one coming. He won't be much harder though. Look at this, look at this. This is what happens when you have enough stamina. You can outrun the fire move and not die to it like a chump. Let's go. It's it's just that easy, everybody. I've now killed the blue Lionel. Next up, I think, is the black one. And this one, I was kind of scared of this one, because I believe he could one-shot me. So, at this point, I cannot get hit at all. Alright, there's the third Lionel kill. Now it's just onto the silver Lionel. You might think I was more scared fighting this guy than the other one, but, I mean, they both kill me in one hit, right? So, the silver one just has more health. The result, if I get hit, is the same, so it actually wasn't more stressful than fighting the other one. Some of you might have been wondering up to this point why I haven't been using attack food when I'm fighting these guys, and the simple answer is just I don't think there's an easy way for me to get it. I couldn't find the easy source of it in the sky. I mean, I also didn't look super hard, but anyways, I had enough that I could make one dish that lasted 4 minutes, and that's what I used for the silver Lionels. Because they have so much health compared to the other ones, it was worth it to use my attack up now so that I could get through their health bars quicker. And just like that, I am the king of the Lionels. I have killed them all in the Colosseum, and I also didn't take any damage, which I didn't expect that to happen, to be honest. When I tried this, I thought it was going to take me a couple tries, but nope, I killed them all first try, didn't take a hit, so I felt pretty good about myself after that one. Enough bragging, though. I'm diving into the depths now under Hyrule Castle. This is it. We're going to the final boss. And, yeah, I failed my grab and waste a fairy. I think I had 3 fairies going into this, and that is the first one gone, which is awesome. After that, I just fly down because I don't want to risk wasting another fairy. But, ooh, a classic blunder. I am dumb and immediately waste my second fairy, which means I only have 1 left, and we just got here. Yeah, that was awesome. You might notice that I am now sitting, hiding like a coward, shooting bomb arrows at 2 lizards, because after I lost 2 of my fairies immediately, I was very afraid of dying. and so I started playing like the world's biggest coward. Here we are with another coward strat. I freeze the moblin. What's he gonna do? And there's a gloom hand down there, you know, those enemies. I don't want to deal with that, so I'm just gonna fly across the gap. It's a good thing I have a lot of Zonite because I spent so much time in the depths. Yep, just yoop him down there, shove him to the pit. He can be friends with the gloom hand. I don't want to deal with it. Getting down this pit was fun. No paraglider, and really trying to save my last fairy. I manually tried to climb down it. I couldn't figure out a way to get down here with a Zonite. Like the hover bike was what I initially tried, but it just hits the wall and then you fall. So that sucked. But I fall anyways. And there's my last fairy gone, so I have no fairies for the boss rush, which sucks. I tried the hover bike again for the final descent, which was really scary, and it's so tight, the turn, and I end up getting stuck. So I have to pull out the craziest maneuver of my life. I actually don't think that's that crazy, but it was really stressful in the moment to hit that B button and let go of the hover bike, but it worked. And now we're on to the boss fight, well, the boss rush. Man, this area is cool. I didn't get to look around really when I did my first playthrough, because you dive, right? Because you've got your paraglider, you're not worried about hitting the ground, so I go down much slower with the hover bike, and you really get to take in this whole area. And the actual platform you land on, it, like compared to the size of this room, it's really small, but it feels huge when you're on it. So begins the boss rush. First up, we've got Demon King's army, which is just, the game just throws 100 guys at you at the same time, and you have to kill all of them. Which when you have 3 hearts is really stressful. So bomb arrows were my friend, for sure. Especially against the goblins. I pull off a ninja dodge flurry rush on this guy and obliterate him. But man, there's so many. It's crazy. I wasn't really paying attention to numbers because you're so focused on surviving in the moment, but there's so many guys. I take a little more damage, but I'm not... You don't have to worry. I did bring gloom food, which I'm going to eat right now so I don't get killed. But looking at my supplies, I really probably should have got more. It's going to come up later that I probably could have prepared better for this than I did. Muddlebloods are also a really good tool in this fight. They just help thin out the amount of guys that are trying to kill you. Give you some breathing room. Lets you run around a little more. I feel a little bad during this because I'm mostly just running away, right? And taking swings and pot shots when I can. I wish I was a little better at fighting a mob of guys in this game. I think it'd be more fun than just running away and spamming arrows. I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do to win, right? So I'm gonna be a little bit of a coward. The Lizalfos, I just flashbang them instantly. I do not want to deal with 100 of these guys rushing at me at Mach 20. I get a really lucky flurry rush off on that guy, but yeah, other than that, I'm just gonna keep spamming these flashbangs on these guys. They don't deserve an honorable duel. They're so fast. With this last Lizalfos, I'm really trying to conserve on my resources, my weapons. Try to keep as many of them durable as possible. I'm actually saving my best Lynel weapons. You'll notice I used I think it was a silver Lizalfos horn throughout this entire battle so far, and I finished this guy off with just something else, and then I'm looking for a good fuse to use. Then we move on to the Gibdo, and these guys suck. They are extremely weak to flashbangs. Same as fire and cold. Actually, I think any element, even water, might destroy them. But my favorite approach is to burn their eyeballs, because what do they need those for? If they can't see, and if they can't kill me when they can't see, then they don't deserve to be around. Utterly annihilated. I mean, those guys are so easy once you know their weakness. You just blind them and they lie there and die. The Moblins, however, these guys are a little trickier. I definitely find them not the most annoying, but I think they just take the longest because they have a lot of health, and they actually, if you lock onto them with your bow, they'll run kind of perpendicular to where you're aiming so that you can't hit them in the head, which is really annoying. So you have to unlock if you want to headshot them. They're also surprisingly fast. Like, when you're running away from them, they can keep up. So I employ the same strategy I've been doing where I just flashbang while I hold them and run away. And it works pretty well. So, Demon King's army, that went pretty good. I got not a lot of complaints. This guy, however, this dude, I hate this dude. This dude without a paraglider is the worst. You're gonna see why. So I actually had a strategy going into this when fighting him, where I can't get up to him, right? So my plan was, if I build this scaffold build, auto build that you get, and then jump off of it, I should be able to get bullet time. I'd shoot at his weak points. Because normally for this fight, you're gliding around, you're able to dive through those weak points, but here I have to shoot them from down here. And it ended up being a massive pain in the butt. This was a headache and a half. Man, this... Oh, because they're right there. So I shot 3 arrows at him, but because of the angle, it's just so steep. I only broke the ice. I didn't actually deal any damage. And so you might think, well, that's just minorly annoying, right? Just don't miss your shots. Don't waste your arrows. Yeah, just wait till phase 2. All right, wait till phase 2, and then you'll find out real pain. Hey, would you look at that? It's phase 2. Surely this won't be evil or the worst. I mean, he just does the same thing, right? He flies around and you can just shoot him again like you did before, right? Surely. It's the same fight. There's just tornadoes now. Oh! Oh, you're in the sky. Oh, it spawns you up there. So, I panic because I'm in the air now. And then I die. That was awesome. Thanks, game. So yeah, I did have to kill the Demon King's army again, but for phase 2 this time, I was prepared. I had my wingsuit ready. So the plan was, because my scaffolding was there, my only option for survival is to glide down gently with the wingsuit, and grab the edge of my scaffolding. And somehow I pull off the luckiest grab I've... Like, I should have entered the lottery that day. That was insane. And that grab really is the hardest part. After you make that, it is just the same fight. So, after that, the stress was gone. Kogera was back to being just an annoying thing to shoot at, but I was no longer in mortal danger. And hey, unlike a speedrun, I actually got to listen to this dude's entire theme song, which is awesome, because I'm pretty sure it's like the best song in the game. There's the first boss dead. Kogera is gone. Don't have to worry about it anymore. Right? Surely I won't have to fight it again. That's foreshadowing. Anyways. Marbled Goma is pretty easy. You just use Recall and Ultra Hand, and you can kill it with its own attacks. So, this fight goes pretty smooth. You know, actually, this fight is pretty cool. It lets you... I think you use almost all your major abilities, because you even use Ascend to get up to his eyeballs, since... I don't actually remember how you get up there normally when you're fighting it with Yunobo in the Fire Temple. I don't remember how you actually get up there. But for this, we just use Ascend, which is pretty easy. Phase 2 for this guy it's pretty much the same as Phase 1. He just shoots bigger rocks at you. I don't think he has any other attacks actually that get added that I can remember. Like I said, this boss is one of the easier ones, so even if it has more attacks, like I don't remember them. There we go, Marble Goma's dead. Next up is Muktarok. I had no respect for this man. Even when I first saw him in my first playthrough, I thought this boss was goofy, thought he looked goofy, and then he kills me. That was probably the biggest bruh moment I had in this run. I was so sad. It meant I had to fight everything all over again and rematch him. So I did have a strategy going in to fight him. I brought some opals that I was going to stick onto magic rods so I could chuck water at him. I think another strat you can do is with fire hydrants. I just went with the opals because I had them and I didn't have a lot of fire hydrants. And after being humiliated by this dude earlier, I was mad and I just wanted him to die and be gone. I never wanted to see him again. Phase 2 for this guy, honestly, it's basically the same. There's just sludge everywhere now instead, but when you've got a bunch of opals and you shoot water everywhere, it doesn't really matter. The sludge gets cleared up pretty fast, and it really doesn't affect anything. And there I use a little trick from Breath of the Wild where you can reset your magic by switching weapons and switching back. They never changed that, which is cool. So my rod breaks, and you'll have noticed the other rod I have is a ruby rod from earlier. So I have to do some on-the-fly fusing with a new opal, but it works. Just some menuing, not too bad, nothing spooky. That Lionel bow damaged message, that's not something I wanted to see. I mean, I'm on the 3rd boss of this rush, and there's a couple more, and then I still have the final boss. I really don't want to, like, lose all my bows before that. I'd like to have a Lionel bow, so I was a little stressed that my Lionel bow was breaking. But at this point, I was so done with this guy because he killed me earlier that I decided to just shoot him with homing arrows. I couldn't be bothered to deal with his shenanigans anymore. I mean, look how annoying he is when he's jumping around like that. So I just kill him. And now it's Queen Gibdo time. Guess what? She hates flashbangs, just like her minions. Yeah, if you had trouble with this boss fight, this is how you make it really easy. You just give her retinal damage and then spam bomb arrows while she's lying on the ground. Actually, if you spam bomb arrows, it knocks her down, and then you can spam even more bomb arrows and do a lot of damage, which is awesome. So, I think in like one phase, like one damage cycle, I basically get her to half health, which is really good. So, is Phase 2 a challenge? No, not really, because the flashbang's area of effect is so massive that if you shoot her, it basically stuns every Gibdo in the room. But you can also just stun them anyways, because the flashbang is just so good. And, yeah, if there's one thing for you to learn from this video, flashbang good at like everything. I think it honestly is one of the best items in the game, for sure. Like, because of them, I'm able to just kind of ignore the guys that are chasing me, flashbang them, and then focus damage on the boss. Which, like, I didn't do this the first time I fought her in my first playthrough, And it was way more difficult dealing with the ads. I mean, you have those pillars of light that you can hide in, but still, this... I think if you didn't have flashbangs and you tried to do this fight, where there's no pillars, man, that would be hard. There, Queen Gibdo's dead. I got hit before the cutscene transfer, but luckily I don't think it did any damage. So we're on to Seize Construct now. And I'll be honest, I kind of forgot when I was playing. I kind of forgot this boss would be a part of this. And I had no idea how to approach this fight without Minoru. I was totally lost. Yeah, it was bad. I wasted a lot of resources fighting this boss. Even my beloved flashbangs did nothing to it. It just ate them and didn't care. So as you can see, I'm kind of running low on weapons now. And I really don't know what to do about this boss. That's why I keep running slowly in circles. I'm trying to figure out what can I do? Because I knew you had to knock it into the wires like you do in the Minoru fight, but I didn't know how to do that yet. So, man, it took a while to figure out. I'm embarrassed to say, and my shields got pretty beat up, unfortunately, from this fight. So, here you can see me. I'm looking for electric items, like a shock fruit or something, because I thought maybe electricity might do something to it. But unfortunately, I didn't have any in my inventory. I didn't have any electric items that I could use, which was pretty sad. I still don't know if that would work, actually. If anybody knows, that'd be cool. Ice works, but it doesn't launch. It just breaks it. Maybe I could have tried the like shoving with the when you're crouched, but I doubt that would have worked. But finally, something magical happens, and I land a Flurry Rush and notice that that launches it back really far. So now I knew that to launch this thing into the wires, I just had to land my Flurry Rushes. Funny, to get it to phase 2, I actually chipped it down enough just outside of hitting it into the wall. And phase 2, it's interesting. The boss flies around a lot, definitely becomes more mobile. The cannons are scary. I think the scariest part is when it flies and shoots the cannons at you, for sure. Because those cannons do so much damage. So, you do not want to get hit by that. Speaking of cannons, he just equipped his. But we're gonna take a page out of Koga's book, and this time I'm actually gonna use recall on them. I thought it would go all the way back, but it just kind of hovers there, but the result is the same. It explodes and knocks him down, which is really good. and we get some big damage off of that. So my strategy going forward was flurry rushes and recalling cannonballs. There you can see there's a problem with the one-handed weapons when you use flurry rush on this. You'll randomly target his arm, and then you won't get the last hit, and you won't get the launch, which really sucks. Very lame. Luckily the spin attack still sends him though, but yeah. Use big weapons on this guy, for sure. Well, we're pretty much at the end now. I mean, the fight's pretty easy after I figured out what to do, but unfortunately, it took me long enough to do it that my Lynel shield is breaking, and that comes back. That's a problem later. Seize Construct dead, yay! But then I have Major Panic mode because I completely forgot. Kind of like Seize Construct, I completely forgot there's actually 6 bosses in this rush, and Phantom Ganon's one of them. Yeah. Well, you'll see. So in panic mode, I decide to try flashbangs. Maybe that'll save me. Nope, he ignores them. Yep. Luckily, I get a flurry rush off. But this is where the problems start. I get smoked. Yeah. This boss staggers their dashes, and for having fought him only one time before in the regular playthrough, and yeah, there goes my Lynel shield. Anyways, he's kind of scary when you have 4 hearts. So once phase 2 started, you can tell I was just done with this. I was not taking any chances, and so I start spamming bomb arrows. I was done with this guy. I did not want to deal with it anymore. I was not risking having to replay the entire boss rush just for losing to this guy. So I even start using rubies. Don't care that my Lynel bow's gonna break. Yeah, I was dead set on guaranteeing this victory. I was not dealing with this man. And wouldn't you know, if you shoot 100 solar flares at a guy, he tends to explode and die. So there goes Phantom Ganon, and now it's just on to the real guy. So going into the Ganondorf fight, I was actually a little nervous. I was down to 2 Lynel shields, just regular ones, not the good ones, and I had low healing supplies because of Seize Construct. I wasted a bunch fighting it, and I wasted a bunch of my good arrows fighting Phantom Ganon. So for Ganondorf, it was just a one-on-one. And disaster strikes. I'm just barely not able to get out of that AoE, and I lose all my health. I have 1 anti-gloom food left and a healing potion I take. My saving grace for this fight is that I saved one of my silver Lynel horns to fuse to the Master Sword, so it is doing big damage, which really helped out. So, phase 2 starts out. Wait for it, real bad. I instantly lose my shield and I'm down to half a heart. I have no way to heal the gloom damage. So I was definitely starting to stress a bit. I almost got hit by that guy. Yeah, this was terrifying. I just start playing coward mode. Luckily, I'm far enough away this time. I don't get hit by the AoE. But I have to figure out how to kite the clones. Luckily, it seems like if you just run away from the clones, they don't really focus you. Only he will. I don't know if that happens every fight, because this was only the second time I'd fought Ganondorf. This was the second playthrough I'd ever done. So I don't know if that's a consistent behavior they have or not, but for this playthrough, as you can see, I just run away from them, and he's the only one who attacks me, which is really good. Down to my last shield here, so I'm trying really hard to not let it break, because it's basically the only thing going to keep me alive. And I forgot that the Master Sword doesn't shoot beams when you are low on health. It only does that if you're wearing the Champion's Leathers, which I basically did for the entire game. Anyways, now we're going into Phase 3, which... it's basically Phase 2, honestly, just without the clones, and he has a lot of health, but he doesn't do anything super crazy. Yeah, that finger taunt was when I first played it, it made me laugh, because I was like, that's so cool, but that's because I had a full 2 rows of hearts and really good armor. Yeah, in this scenario, it was actually kind of scary. It's weird how having a quarter heart changes your perspective on a fight. And every time that poor little Lionel shield got hit, I was so scared it was gonna break. And then I would have nothing. And the flow of this fight is so cool, the way you're just like flurry rushing each other, and then you finally get to hit them. It's really satisfying. It's so fun. Man, right here, I thought it was over. I thought I was dead, but there's this... I didn't know this was a mechanic, but if you get hit by those gloom things when you're on quarter heart, it just kills one of your heart containers. It just takes it away. That was really intimidating, but, I mean, it didn't kill me, so that was good. And I ended up killing him anyways, so whatever. Now we're on to the final part of the boss fight, and I breathed a huge sigh of relief seeing this, because this part is really easy. Like, the risk of dying here is so low. Yeah. Oh, I basically knew that the run was over. I was already celebrating in my mind. And I figured to celebrate my never touching the surface run, I might as well put on the clothes from the start of the game, right? I don't know. It just felt fitting for some reason. But man, it was a really fun challenge. But it's not over yet. I still have to defeat the Demon Dragon. But yeah, like I said earlier, this is not a hard fight. It is, however, extremely cool. So there's probably a couple of you by now who've noticed, after I talked all that big game about how easy this is, that I'm still on a quarter of a heart. And I actually hadn't noticed it either. I do notice eventually, though, don't worry. I realize and I eat some food. actually, it ends up being really important that I did eat that food, because as you can see, I mess up my landing and end up taking some damage. So if I hadn't noticed that I was quarter heart, we might have had to restart. I don't even know where the checkpoint is, to be honest. I don't know if it starts you here or if it starts you at the cannon fight, but thank goodness I noticed. This is it. This is the end. I just have to do one more dive to kill Ganon. So, thanks for watching my challenge run. Hopefully you liked it. I had fun doing it. So, I hope this video turns out alright. And, I'm thinking maybe for my next one I'll do a no-hit run. I don't know. That sounds... Saying it out loud, that sounds really stupid and kind of unfun, but maybe I'll do it. I don't know. Why not? Oh, it's a horrible idea, but I might end up doing it. Anyways, thanks for watching. Goodbye.
Yeah.